spirits today. We have a great program here for you today, and we're really happy to hear about what's going on with the Democratic Party. So here we go. You know how to behave. Now, come on, just try. You can do this. Good morning, good afternoon. This is Alberta Hemsley. I'm up here, and I'm here to welcome you to the Greater Cincinnati Democrats. And we have some great food for you, and we have some great things going on for you today. Now, you're welcome to do all the talking that you can in just a minute. We have a very tight program here, and we have two presenters, and we want to hear from both of them. Okay. Okay. So I'm Alberta Hemsley, and Liz Ping is here somewhere. She's here somewhere. But there she is in the middle of the room, right there in the middle. So raise your hand and just wave. Katie Hoffman.
I'm Katie Hoffman.
Katie Hoffman. Right.
Katie Hoffman.
Are one of the original organizers of this group. Stan in the back is our videographer. He's going to be doing a video of this talk today. He will be giving you a copy of this. The restrooms across the way. We have a very nice ladies and gentlemen room just across the way, out the door and straight ahead. We have name tags in the back. If you don't have a name tag, you should have one, so that put it where somebody can see it and get to know where your name is. We do encourage you to say hello to each other, and we encourage all of you to say hello, and we're going to have a nice group here today. Okay, we have a name tag. If you don't have a name tag, please sign up for another week, and we will get you a name tag for another week. This meeting is from noon to 1. We have this space until 2. You may stay after the meeting or join action committees that meet after this meeting. We have a number of groups that meet just after this meeting. One of them is Move to Amend. Where's Move to Amend? There's Karen, and Dick is here somewhere.
We're not meeting here today.
We're not meeting here today, but just want you to know that we have people like that who meet after the meeting, and we make good use of our time here. And if our presenters are not smart enough to kind of exit the property here, we get to keep them for a little while and answer questions after we have after we keep going with them. Be sure to check our information our information table. We have belly up to our bar. We have that bar over there, and we have information from various groups and people who are running for office. And at this point, we have, I ask you to, I want you to present yourself. If you are presenting from any group, please make sure that you, here we go.
There are two cars that are blocking the parking lot. A white Acura AMOR 7 and an Altima, a red Altima, HIE 252 license plate number. Please move your cars as it's blocking people in the parking lot. Thank you.
For anybody who needs extra parking, you can park right next door at AFSCME, Ohio Council 8 as well.
We have the AFSCME. Oh dear. Okay, we'll find somebody. We'll find some young, anxious person who can. I think we got it. We got one of them. Okay, so let's see. Who is here today, and who do we have to introduce to you today? Let's see. I saw a new person over here. Brendan McCarthy, you're working for somebody. Who are you working for?
My name is Brendan McCarthy.
Stand up.
I am Regional Finance Director for Rich Cordray for Governor.
Move. Yeah. You're in the right crowd.
I've been working for about a month for the Cordray campaign. If you have any questions about how things are moving forward or any general progress updates, just let me know.
We need to have him on the agenda for some time later in the fall.
Awesome. I will follow up.
Please. Okay, who else needs an introduction here? Is that it? Oh, come on. I don't believe it. Nobody's here from any other campaign. Nobody's here from any other program. I don't believe it. You're all here to hear our two speakers for today? You lucky ducks. You lucky, lucky people. Here they are. Okay. Announcements. Okay, Mike.
I put two articles on the table that were in the paper. I don't know if you saw the disgusting essay in the paper against staff fab by Melissa Wegman, who has a business down on York Street. It was totally disgusting. And I'd like to see us go down and show up in front of her business or something. And it just irritates me Inquirer prints these lies. I mean, they screen other letters. And then Martha had a wonderful letter too, and it's on the thing if you didn't see it, Martha Stewart.
Peter.
I put on the counter an article from the Nation about the grotesque bloated military budget, which is exactly where domestic and foreign policy coalesce, because bloating that budget makes it impossible, if you add in the tax breaks, for any money to be around for what people need. I urge you to read it.
And Peter is our person, hold up your mic, Peter. Peter is our person who puts out the newsletter, and if you have any announcements for him, please make sure you get fill out his little card, and he will make sure that your announcement gets into his newsletter. He's a really good scribe. He's a wonderful person. Is that it? Is that it? Okay.
Hi, my name is Monica, and I am still in charge of the signs. I don't care where you're from. I'm glad you're my neighbor, and I think it's necessary, more so now than ever. Thank you. $10. I'm available. Just go.
If you haven't seen the signs, we had them in back. We just didn't put them out today because you weren't here. But you were here. Okay, so they're $10 sign that says welcome to you, our neighbor. We're happy to have you here. It says in several languages, and I've given them to both of my children in Seattle and San Diego. They seem to go everywhere. Question?
I'm Emily Hodges. I'm a member of Moms Demand Action, and they are having a wonderful meeting August 4th, Saturday, August 4th at Pleasant Ridge Library. They will have judicial candidates there from 1:30 to 3. Okay, what is this?
You're going to make an announcement for our newsletter.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements?
Real quick, did anybody drop money in the parking lot?
Oh,
I'm the most deserving of having dropped money, but I wouldn't have had it to begin with. But check it if you could identify your car, because that might be an identifying factor. I can't read his name.
Tim has your money, folks. If you're really missing your money, there it is. Okay, are we reaching it? Are we reaching it? Are we reaching it? Without further ado, we have our two people here who have, I'm going to turn that off, but I'm going to give them both a mic, and you decide how you're going to use your time. Gwen McFarlin. Gwen McFarlin has been an elected trustee and has been elected to full 4-year terms as a chairman and vice chairman of the Board of Trustees of Springfield Township, my township. Following her undergraduate studies at Miami University, Gwen completed her graduate work on the University of Cincinnati. She's currently a healthcare administrator consultant under her own faculty at Miami University, and she's been a lifelong resident of the township. Connie Pillich is a former Democratic member of the Ohio House of Representatives, and she has been a captain in the United States Air Force, United States University of Cincinnati, University of Oklahoma, University of North Dakota. Boy, that's getting around. Oh yeah. Okay, and without further ado, I'm going to have these two women introduce themselves and tell you about what's happening with the Democratic Party, because I don't know if you realize it, you've got an audience here, and they want to know what to do in the next few months, because after what happened last night with that nomination, I was just taken away. Just taken away. I feel like you guys owe us a lot. Thank you very much for being there and for being the object of all of our attention for the next 3.5 months.
Thank you, Alberta. Connie, let's stand up together. And I'd like to introduce Connie and I as your co-chairs of the Hamilton County Democratic Party. We are so excited about this journey that we are embarking on, and I'd like Connie's going to do a lot of work in trying to get raising money for us. So I'm going to let her go first and talk about all of the great things that she's going to do to bring money into the Democratic Party. Connie.
Thank you, partner. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. It's just another beautiful day in Cincinnati, right? And you all ventured out in this humid, hot weather to come here, Gwen and me. So, good job. That's a good job. There could be so many other things you're doing, but you're here, and I'm so glad. So I want to tell you a little bit about my background, the things that I bring to the party, and what some of our goals are, because Gwen's going to talk about some of the other goals. So first of all, Gwen and I were elected to chair the Hamilton County Democratic Party on June 9th. So we've got 1 month and 1 day of experience. I grew up in a steel town, virtually in the shadow of a big steel mill, now defunct, of course. My grandpa worked there, my dad, my uncles, my cousins, my brother. You get the picture. The dad of everybody I went to school with worked at that steel mill. And we had a good life. You know, our dads had a safe place to work, relatively. They came home every night. We had a little bit of money in the pocket. We had 2 cars, which was a very big event back in those days. Yeah, you know. But when I was in high school, the steel mill started to shut down because the foreign steel started coming in, and 20,000 men were laid off. And ladies, we know, was always men that worked there back then. So it was devastating to our community and very harmful to our family. That was exciting. So I turned to the military to get my education. That's why I was in the Air Force. I got an ROTC scholarship, and that's how I put myself through school. I had to take out loans and work as well. But after 4 years, I graduated, pinned on my little second lieutenant bars, and went off into the wild blue yonder, very secure in my belief that the Air Force was going to show me the whole world. And you know what? Right away, I went to Biloxi, Mississippi. And then Grand Forks, North Dakota. So no glamour in the military. But I did, that's 2 different parts of the world. I did also serve overseas. I served in support of Operation Desert Storm. And I landed here in Cincinnati where I met my husband. And we settled here. We had our children and I became an attorney. I eventually opened my own law firm. But about 10 years ago, there was this scandal called CoinGate. Does anybody remember that? A lot of people do. CoinGate is where we lost $50 million in bad investments, and $200 million was pilfered from the workers' comp fund as well. So of course we're seeing the same kind of financial scandals now in Ohio, to the tune of at least $80 million that we've been able to track down, but it could be as much as $600 million. That's thanks to one-party rule in Columbus. So when CoinGate happened and I started to learn about the school funding situation in Ohio, I decided I needed to get involved. So I ran for state representative, and I won a seat that had been held by Republicans for 38 of the last 40 years. Thanks, and it's because I worked my backside off. And that's what I like most about Gwen, is that she's a worker too. So after 6 years in the legislature, I ran for Ohio Treasurer against this guy named Josh Mandel. So he's still famous, yeah. No Democrat won that year because we did have some problems at the top of the ticket. Earlier this year, I was a candidate for governor. I ended up dropping out of the race and throwing my support behind our now Democratic nominee, Richard Cordray. So Gwen and I started talking about working together to chair the party. And I said to her, I said, well, Gwen, there are some skills that I just don't have. But I know a couple of things that I can bring to the table. First of all, in my campaigns, I've raised over $6 million. So I have a little bit of experience in fundraising. And since I got out of my race, I have been mentoring congressional candidates in 4 different states on how to raise money for their campaigns. I've also been helping, try this one. I've also been helping state rep candidates because that's what I know. But another thing I bring is I've won a race in a tough place. I have robust campaign skills. And so this is going to be helpful to our candidates too. And Gwen's going to talk about her background, but I want to tell you that we've decided to split up this chairmanship, and no surprise, I'm going to take care of fundraising. And I haven't started yet, so don't think you're all going to get out of here scot-free. I aim to have 100% participation, whether it's $1 or $1,000. We want you to help the party. Gwen is going to be running the coordinated campaign. She'll be talking about that. But together, we do have some really important goals. We want to continue to promote diversity in our party. We want to make sure we get young people engaged. We want to make sure that we field strong, well-qualified candidates who can run good campaigns and can win. Now, look, this county is on the cusp of becoming a solid blue county. We are. Look at what we've started to win judicial races. We won the clerk of courts race. Who the heck knows we even have a clerk of courts? We won a county commission race, probably the toughest county commission race I've seen in a long time. We are turning this county blue. And that's what Gwen and I aim to do. So I'm going to turn it over to Gwen, and she can talk about herself.
Thanks, Connie. There's a lot more that Connie can say, but we're going to share the microphone. And we could spend the rest of the afternoon, but I'm sure that you all have other things that you want to do as well. But we could easily spend the rest of the afternoon talking about the things that we want to do and the goals that we're going to make and that we have established for the Hamilton County Democratic Party. I'm going to share a little bit about myself since Connie has shared some of her roots. Okay, my roots began in Claremont County. So I was raised on a farm. So I'm a farm girl. My parents, we had a farm, and I'm the first born. And when I was born, my dad wanted a boy. So he was a little disappointed when he got me. But he taught me a lot of things that most dads would teach their sons: to be a hard worker, to respect people, to do so much as far as coordinating and being a business person as well. Because on the farm, you had to be a business person because we raised hogs, cattle, stripped tobacco. We did all of that up in Brown County, Claremont County. And then later, we moved into Batavia. And my father started working at the powerhouse out in New Richmond. My dad's a union man. He was always a union man when we sold the farm and moved into the city, which was Batavia. And one of the things that I found interesting about Batavia, and I didn't realize this until I started going to Miami University, they said, well, you're one of them Appalachians. And I'm like, yes, I am. I'm a mix of Appalachian and African American. I never thought about it like that. So people wonder how I survived at Miami University. I survived because it reflected a lot of my universe in the areas that I was raised in. But when I went to Miami University, I became more of a radical. Okay? I really enjoyed it, and people used to say, Angela Davis doesn't have anything on me. I was an Angela Davis. I had this afro wig or hair that was out, you know, and I just knew I was bad. I was a bad ass, okay? And so I learned a lot at Miami University about social justice, civil rights, and I fought from a grassroots perspective for social justice, civil rights, women's rights, and I became a Democrat. My dad was a Republican, so he about flipped over when I decided I was going to become a Democrat, but I've never regretted one moment that I've made that decision. So then I finished at Miami University and I came to Cincinnati. And for me, coming to Cincinnati was another cultural shock because there was a lot that I didn't know about. Even though I've been in Cincinnati now most of my life, it's still amazing to me the universe that we have here in Cincinnati. So then I got involved in the healthcare field, and healthcare administration has been my main thing. But on the side, I did a lot as far as working hard to get women and Democrats elected to public office. And a lot of the women that got elected for the first time, I ran county races. We ran those campaigns and we worked hard. And then finally, one of the candidates that won that I worked for said, when are you going to stop working for everybody else and run for yourself? And you know, I thought about that, and so I decided to throw my hat in and run in Springfield Township as a Springfield Township trustee. And I had 3 strikes against me, and I didn't know which strikes were the predominant strikes. Number 1, I was a female.
Yeah, that's the one.
Next, I was an African American, and 3rd, I was a Democrat. Okay.
So you weren't poor.
No, I weren't poor. So I ran. I had to run twice, and on the 3rd time, I won. And the 3rd time when I won, Rob Weldon, stand up, Rob Weldon.
There we go.
Rob was my campaign manager. Yes. Couldn't have done it with Rob. We worked morning, noon, and night because they had never had a person like me run in Springfield Township. They didn't even know anything. So when we won, right after we won and before I was sworn in, Rob comes up and says, well, I got to tell you something, Gwen. I said, what? He says, my wife's pregnant. I said, how in the world did you have time to get her pregnant? You never spent any time at home, you know, but he went on and managed his family, so I was elected and sworn in 1995, first female in Springfield Township, first African American in Springfield Township, first Democrat in Springfield Township, and today, according to my scholarly friend, Brewster Rhodes, I'm perhaps the only person that looks like me in the township in the state of Ohio. So I think that, and so I said, you know, that's not right. We got to do something about this. We got to get more people involved that look like all of us in the Democratic Party in office. So that's always been my goal. So when I'm a grassroots organizer, and one of the things that I've always been proud of, and I looked around as well, because you know Alberta was always there for me, Ann Lee, Barb, stand up, wave your hand.
I'll just wave my hand.
Ann Lee and Barb have, and they've all been just extremely supportive of me. And Connie and I are asking for everyone in this room to continue to support us as we move on this next journey of ours in this new universe, and that is putting the Democratic Party together, continuing to move that way. Tim Burke did an excellent job. I'm not going to say he didn't do an excellent job, but now we've got 2 females at the head of the panel. We need all of the support, everybody in this room. I know we've got your support because we're going to keep this county blue. So we need you to help us. Not just blue, but a deep blue. So So we know that we can make this happen. And as Connie shared with you, one of the things that I'm going to be taking a major role in is a coordinated campaign. There are a lot of things that we want to do. We're going to put together a diversity committee. We're going to raise money. Connie's going to do that. But we have to get our priorities straight, and that is to make sure we get all of those great candidates that we have running elected for the public office here in the state of Ohio. Now, how many of you all, just by a show of hands, know who are running from the top of the Democratic Party? I'm going to start first, from the bottom down here in the local area up to the top. How many of you think you know everybody? Everybody. Fantastic. Everybody. Okay? What I'm going to do is send Alberta a printout of all those candidates that are running for the Democratic Party in the state of Ohio and locally. Alberta, I will send this, I will email this to you, and then Alberta will send it out to you. And what we'd like you to do is send it to at least 10 or more of your friends, because many folks don't know who's really running. You know, they know of them, they think, but they really don't know. So we need you to become more educated, better educated. And I'm glad to see somebody wearing an app tab. I'm glad to see someone here from Jill's campaign, at the state level too, from Richard Cordray's campaign. We've got to work hard, because just as the gentleman over here said, they are putting all kinds of negative feedback and comments into the newspaper. And what we need is anyone in this room who have skills in writing letters and responding, please respond to those nasty fake news that they're saying about our candidates, because it's not going to be easy. And the other thing that we have to be that we're fighting for is, right now they're coming after Denise and Todd Kortun because of the sales, the tax that they have put forward. So they are getting low down and dirty. What does Michelle Obama say when they go low? What do? We go high. That's right. So they're going low and we must go high. So we're going to be putting together, I'll be meeting with the coordinated campaign folks at the state level and local level tomorrow. Bonnie Dunkelman is going to be helping and supporting me in that area, and we're bringing Ernie down from the state. We are going to continue to strategize and put together a winning team so that everybody has a great opportunity of winning in this election. So I need your help, everybody's help, with letter writing, making phone calls, volunteers. Just call Caleb at Caleb Fox at the Democratic Party headquarters, and just tell him you want to help, and we are looking for you. You can come into the office. I kind of kidnapped Barb and Ann Lee last week. We had to send out about 400 mailers, and Barb and Ann Lee and I were the three of us in there working, stuffing envelopes, licking, sealing, and organizing. We need help in the office, so just call and say you want to volunteer to help in the office, or you want one volunteer to make phone calls as well. So the office, we're redoing the office so that it's a really nice place to be at. So again, we're asking for your continued support. We need volunteers there. You just don't know how much we need volunteers. So I'm just going to stop right now, because I think I've shared enough about myself. Yes.
Where is the office?
The office is on Webley and Pleasant Ridge.
6109
61.
Webland Place.
Webland Place.
WE 421.
0945.
I think it's 0495.
495. Yeah,
This is how long we remember dialing it. That's how long we've known that. Okay, so the address is 6109 Webland Place. WEBB.
LAND Place.
That's in Pleasant Ridge. It's off of Montgomery Road, across from Everybody's Records.
Right.
Does everybody remember that?
Just south of Ridge.
Just south of Ridge.
Ridge and Montgomery, basically.
So
North of Ridge. Phone number, please.
513-421-0495.
Okay. he will be looking forward to those phone calls because we have mailings and we have a lot now. And as I said, when we meet with the coordinated campaign tomorrow, I would love to be able to share with them that we talked with you all today, and we're going to get some volunteers to help with mailings and phone calls and canvassing if you so choose. So thank you very much. That's what I'd like to share.
I'd like to give Caleb's email. He's our executive director. He gets a small salary. Mostly he pays us to work there. Because there have been times, seriously, when he has had to hold his paycheck because we don't have enough money in the till to pay him. So we are definitely a bare bones operation here. His email is Caleb, C-A-L-E-B, at HamiltonCountyDems.org. Caleb at HamiltonCountyDems.org. So, yeah, we're gonna ask.
And one other thing I just want to reemphasize, it is so critical to bring in and recruit the young folks, okay? So we have this really aggressive process and movement in place to bring in a lot of young folks into the Democratic Party in Hamilton County, throughout the county. So again, if you have any family members, I met a lady, she lives in Wyoming. Her granddaughter was one of the individuals, you all I'm sure know her and know of her, who was killed in the school shooting. And she is just fabulous, and she is going around talking to everybody, young and also not so young individuals. But we need to keep our party strong and bringing in a lot of young people as well. So I thank you, and Connie thanks you.
Let's open it up for questions.
Yes.
Ellen.
Yes, Ellen.
So I'd love to see the precinct system revitalized, or maybe vitalized for the first time. I'm a precinct executive. I don't know what I'm doing. I need help. I need guidance. I need vision, energy. What can you do for me?
That's a great question. We are planning within the next month a training session, and it's going to be at the Letterman Carriers Hall for all the precinct execs. It doesn't matter how long you've been a precinct exec, and also new precinct execs. Because our role as precinct execs, and I'm a precinct exec, has changed over the years. We have to be out there working because it's the precinct execs that are the glue and are the spine of the Democratic Party. And knowing clearly what your expectations are, working and getting to know your neighbors in your precinct, getting them to know you is critical, and then you can spread the word and educate the folks in your community. So you'll be receiving that information very soon.
I got the invitation
Okay,
already.
okay.
I don't really have a question, but I want to respond to Ellen just for a moment. I just moved to Montgomery in October, and I immediately signed up to become a precinct exec, which I was elected. And I discovered that there are only 2 precincts out of 9 in Montgomery that have precinct executive people like myself. And so what I've been doing is I've already hit all of my district where I could find them, knocking on doors. And I've also been working with Jessica Miranda in several other precincts in Montgomery. But what I've been doing is this. Wherever I stop, I get almost an overwhelming, and by the way, I run my list from the Board of Elections. And it's very easy to do. You can get a list of the Democrats in your precinct. And when I'm knocking on their doors, I say I'm here for 2 reasons. I'm here to promote our ticket, and I always wear my AFTAB hat. And then I also say, but I'm trying to build a party. And what I do is I say, I would like to keep you informed about what's going on. You give me your email, it will be just for my use, and I will communicate with you what is going on locally. But I will also be asking you continually to look for other people who want to get involved and get off the bench. And I will tell you, 95% of the people that I speak to have given me their email. So I've had overwhelming success, and I think you'll have the same if you use the same approach.
Rob, that's awesome, and I hope you will come to our precinct exec training and talk about that. And you know, when he talks about going in Montgomery, it's a long distance between Democratic homes and Montgomery.
I don't walk.
Yeah, you don't walk there, so thanks for doing that.
I don't think anybody in this room would argue anything about the choice between Democrat and Republican, but I think we're all aware that that money is right in the middle of it. You almost can't get elected, so it's being between a rock and a hard place because it's also almost impossible for our candidates to not be influenced by who's giving them the mega bucks. I think the public is very aware of this, and my suggestion, my plea is, and I'd like your response, is that this needs to be at the top of the stump speech for every Democratic candidate in Ohio, and we will win.
I'll respond to that. So I do take exception with your blanket generalization that every elected official is going to be voting to please their donors. When I was in the legislature, and I was there for 6 years, one of my mentors there, who'd been there a long time, said to me, "Listen, Connie," he was an old guy, "Listen, Connie, if you can't drink their booze, take their money, and still vote against them, you don't belong here." So I said, okay. So, but I think the people we have running, frankly, and we talked about Jessica Miranda running for state rep, and Christine Fisher, and Catherine Ingram, and Cedric Benson. We've got Aftab and Jill running for Congress. I would not hesitate 1 second to refute that assumption with any of them. They're going to vote what they think is right for their constituents and right for our country, because they're high quality candidates.
Fair enough, I didn't mean anything.
Okay, well, I just want to make everybody short, but I do want to talk a little bit about fundraising. I know I'm hogging the mic here, but look, we all know that you can't communicate with all, let's say if it's in Aftab's case, all 500,000 voters in his district by visiting every coffee shop. He's going to mean a lot and generate a lot of excitement, but he's got to communicate on a mass scale, which is why he's raising money. And that's what happens. Even if it's a smaller race, you still have to raise money to pay for the paper and to pay for the yard signs. Monica's saying she's charging $10 for signs. They cost, someone's got to pay for them. So they do have expenses, and then you need to have expert staff like Brendan here working for Cordray, and you know he's got to buy food and pay rent too. So there are expenses with every campaign, from the smallest dog pound or dog catcher campaign to governor. And unfortunately, it's more expensive because of all the dark money that's allowed now, and because of that horrible Supreme Court decision in Citizens United. At the county level, the party, we want to have the resources to support our candidates. Let me tell you, the Republican Party in Cincinnati, they have 5 full-time staff. They each make 6 figures a year. One of them, the chairman, is close to 200,000. And then Dinsmore and Scholl, a law firm in Cincinnati, hires all these Republican elected officials and pays them another $100,000. I don't know if they do work or not, but it's where they go. It's their landing pad. Just like the clerk of courts used to be the landing pad for the courthouse campaign volunteers. Dinsmore and Scholl is the landing pad for these elected officials. So we thank Aftab for cleaning up that office, because he got rid of those patronage jobs. But the party does have a budget, and this year, Jerry Springer has decided not to support us the way he has before, so we have a $40,000 shortfall. And that's where that's the opening page. And we can't even pay the rent and pay for the slate card until I make up that shortfall. So that's what we're gonna do.
And I would just like to share real quick. One of the things I've heard so often, by the way, Connie and I do not make money. We do not get paid for being your co-chairs, okay? But I'm so you know, people were saying, that's a thankless job, what you are doing.
Thank you.
And I say it's a thank you job, you know, because we are not, it's not a thankless, it's a thankful job that we're able to do that. And those individuals who are running, if you notice that some of the most recent newer candidates that won by landslides and they even beat individuals who had a big bank, they were smarter in their approach. They used grassroots approach. They did a lot of the social media, Facebook, Twitter, all of that to keep the word out and get the word out. And that's why I said, when I send this to Alberta, please email it to all of your friends. Share with them that they should email it as well to all of their friends. And use the emails and the Facebooks to get this information out. You guys are doing a fantastic job with Facebook regarding your meetings that you're having as well. So give yourselves a hand for that. You're doing a fantastic job.
Ted said one of the reasons he won is because he campaigned with Republicans. And when I was working for Hillary, it was so frustrating because I'd be calling people twice. They said, I'm already going to vote for her. Why are you wasting your time spending that much time campaigning only with Democrats? The other thing is the Break the Shabbat Habit group said they're going to put together a short card of Shabbat's record. So when you go door to door, it'd be nice to have short facts of what this is Republicans did not do for you. And this is, so, you know, I want to have information to give out to people. And don't forget the Republicans. We need to campaign with them also.
I'm going to take two more from this side of the room, and then it'd be nice to move across or in the back.
I hope you're not going to continue one of the practices that's annoyed me, and that's to select candidates before the primary, which happened to Tracy Hunter, Brian Gary, Catherine Barrett, and most recently Dr. Janet. I think that's really a lousy idea. You going to do that?
You gave away your mic, did you?
What happened? So let me tell you a little bit about the candidate selection process. We have a committee for each type of race, whether it's Congress, State House, or state legislature, or the judiciary. And that committee, and you can join it, that committee meets and interviews all the people who asked to be interviewed. Now, unfortunately, with Tracy Hunter, she never told us she was running until after she won the primary. So I can't do anything about that. But if you want to make sure that we only endorse the right people, you got to become a precinct executive so that you can have a vote and you can join the committee that makes recommendations to the body. The chair, I see you shaking your head, but I hope you don't think I'm lying to you.
No, I don't like the idea. Sorry.
Well, then get involved and change the process. The chairs do not vote on those. The chairs do not vote. We preside over the meeting. If you don't like the process, I want you to come in. We need more people. We'll get you a precinct exec position because those are the only people in the Hamilton County Democratic Party that have the power to cast a vote to endorse or not to endorse. We don't do that. But if you want to change that, come on in.
And one of the things that you have
Without
to be,
frowning at
be very careful about, and this is one of the things when I've served on one of those committees as well, when any candidate, because I'm mentoring candidates as well, and the first thing I ask anyone that wants to run for a public office, tell me something about yourself. Is there anything in your past that could come out to make you embarrassed? Because you know they're going to dig and bring it out. If you have any baggage and you want to run for a public office, depending on how intense that baggage is and how much you're going to be able to withstand the pressure will determine how successful you're going to be. But if you come with a lot of baggage, I would not consider even endorsing you because it's going to be a slap in the face and it's going to make the Democratic Party look terrible. Yes, you had the mic.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you have any plans to help unions organize out in some of these places like Harrison and Delhi. You may not know, but we have a lot of these places out here. I'm from AFSCME, and we have some of these. We have like Coleraine Township and places like that we have organized. And when we have these places organized, we find out that one of the best places to approach people is at work. So I'm just wondering, since we know that, do you have any plan to help us organize out there in
Okay, I'm in the county, okay, but I do a lot of work in the city. Pete McClendon is our treasurer. He's a union man. My mouth is
No, I'll take it though.
And he is, we've always worked to get unions.
Use the mic, please.
Okay, sorry. We've always worked hard to make sure that union representation was in our precincts, in North Central Dems. I make sure that at least 30% of our members, precinct execs, are union people. The challenge is trying to find them and get them engaged. And that's something that we really have to work on, because one of the things that I discovered some time ago is that a lot of our younger population, they don't know how valuable and how critical it is to keep our unions flourished and to bring in new members. So a lot of that has to do with the union as well, helping us to market. But the unions, as of yet, when my dad was a big union man, they're not like they used to be. And, you know, so what they're trying to overcome, some of the unions, is when some of them flipped over and voted for Trump, now they're seeing what's happening. You know, he could care less. He wants to abolish the unions. So the union participation is critical. So we support union activity, and we have union members in the North Central Dems. Thank you.
And I'll just add that I do have a history of working with the UFCW, helping them to organize a meatpacking plant in my district when I was a state legislator.
Okay, Connie, I asked you this question about, I don't know, maybe 3 months ago, and it was about what are you going to do with all the money that you raised in your governor campaign? And I'd like to ask, what are you allowed to do with that money?
I am allowed to donate it to other campaigns, I'm allowed to donate it to charity, and I'm allowed to save it for my next campaign. I have given.
I was thinking you were
I've given about 120,000 of it away already.
Oh, you have?
And the rest I'm saving for my next race.
Okay. May I ask, you want to have young people.
Yes, ma'am.
You won't see them here. You won't see you. We're free at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
But, listen, the last great big tent meeting that we had under King Burke was horrible. A lot of young people turned out that night. There was about 1,000 people there. Oh, you know, 6 months ago, when was that?
Yeah.
And the deliberations were boring as hell. Terribly boring. You put great big graphs on the screen over us, and I mean, we couldn't even read it all. Who cared? I mean, the structure of everything. I mean, it was about structure. There wasn't a word said about platform. Not one word. I know that's why these young people turned up. They want to know, does the Democratic Party stand for anything? Are we going to have single-payer health care, for instance? Can that even be mentioned? So look, your donors, okay, you need a lot of money. What do they bring with them? Are they going to tell us we like health care the way it is? Or what?
I would just like to say, with the young people that are coming on board, they're coming on board because finally we have to go to where they are and hear and listen to what they're looking at, and that's what we're doing to engage them in the process. And as with the North Central Dems, which I'm chairing, and one of the things that we're doing as we're changing our universe is helping the young folks in becoming more educated about unions, for example, about health care, about what is it that you want, what's valuable for you, what is it, and I think when you see the young folks standing up for nonviolence and no school shooting, they don't want teachers in the schools with guns, they want education that's going to be applicable for them. They are standing up for those values, and you listen to them. And that's what we have to do, and that's what we're doing. We can do a better job.
That's right.
Oh, the Young Dems in Hamilton County. We have two Young Dems groups that are part of the Hamilton County Democratic Party. We have the Southwest African American Young Democrats, We have the City of Cincinnati Democratic Club. They're going to be mobilizing and coming together and putting on an event. And it's going to be called something like sounding, I think is that what it's called? Some type of sounding, just to educate all of us regarding what are critical issues for them, where do they want to go, how do we respond, and what they want is for us to listen to them. And we must listen to them. No matter what you think about what they say, you must hear them. And then at the end, it's important to say, we hear you and we see you. Jeanette.
So I just wanted to go back and talk about, address your question. So I have...
Closer to the mic, real close.
Right to your lips. All right, everybody hear me?
Yes.
So I want to address the issue about the choosing candidates. I did not become involved in the Hamilton Democratic Party until after 2016. I started the Terrace Park Democratic Club in Terrace Park. So I had no involvement. I didn't know anybody. I went to a meeting. They were asking for volunteers to be on the candidate selection committee. I signed on. I got on a committee. I didn't know anybody, and I heard from all these candidates. The fix wasn't in. It was just people, volunteers in the room, listening to the candidates and deciding who should be endorsed. So I encourage you, if you want to be involved in the selection of candidates, you just have to volunteer.
So I was at the gym this morning riding a bike with three of my identified Democrats on the west side. Mercy Health Place, Western Hills. There's about 5 of us who are willing to actually talk out loud there. And we were bemoaning the fact that we are inundated with requests for money, not only locally, but nationally. And some of the starting amounts are too high for us to pay. There should be a senior rate, for one thing. Look at us, we're all seniors here. And people should, I learned in fundraising for nonprofits, you can't only go after the big donors, it's all the little donors and they're $10 and $15. And I think you're making a mistake with all these events where it's $100, $200 just to get in the door. And the rest of us would love to go, but I pick 1 or 2 and that's it, and we're all local.
And I think that's a very good point. Because part of, as you said, part of fundraising is knowing who your prospect is and what they can do. In 2015, I raised $11,000 for the Hamilton County Democratic Party just by going to Democratic clubs and asking people to donate $5 a month. And that's all I did. And we raised $11,000. That allowed us to update our website and allowed us to take care to promote our 2 judicial candidates that year. This was all none of it was for basic operations or rent or electricity. It was for direct support to make our candidates more successful. Betty Sutton is doing an event in a few weeks, and I think it's a $25 admission, and I can get that information to Alberta.
And I'd also like to say, from a grassroots perspective, and again, I'm a grassroots organizer as well, they may say that they want all of that money. They will take whatever you give them. So don't worry about that. They don't expect people to come in. There may be people who can pay that. They want you to come.
Hush now.
But anyway, just come and show your support and be visible and ask questions. Nobody is going to say, well, you can't come because you're only bringing in $10 or $15. Just come. Every little bit counts.
Just on the same point, I think we're all horrified by dark money. I mean, the book, just reading Jane Meyer's book, just changed my life. At the same, I think we need to remember the Bernie Sanders campaign. The Republicans are a minority party. If you have the numbers, if it's $26 or $27 as the average campaign, you can still make a huge impact. So I think the main thing we need to do is overcome the sort of despair when you hear about the Koch brothers, their latest campaign is going to spend $20 million or $30 million or $1 billion there. We really have to think about, we have the numbers.
And that's that's how I was able to raise that $11,000 by taking small contributions. And that's how Bernie was able to raise a bunch of money. Because when you have a list of 500,000 people you send an email to, even if only 1% of them opens it and 1% of them donates, you're still going to raise a bunch of money. And that's why you keep getting all those emails from across the country, whoever was saying that. Because they're hoping for that. They'll take your $3. Because it adds up with 100 other people who give $3. It really does add up. So that's why grassroots is powerful.
I've got two questions. I'm looking at the Hamilton County Democratic Party website. I don't see how to find out where, I know what my precinct is, but I was trying to find out who my precinct captain is. I don't see where to find that
Oh,
on
that's
there.
probably not on there yet.
Well, we
Okay.
can get that for you. Call Caleb at the headquarters. Call Caleb at the
I
headquarters.
will, but I want to see as much information. That's one question. Question 2 or 3. Who's working on your website, and are they working on it? And, to get stuff up. And question 3 is data. Where are you getting data, and how good is your data? We've got a lot of people here. Do you need us to give you our emails, so we know who's doing your data and how good is it?
So question number 2 is who's updating the website?
Peter.
So we have an executive director who is updating the website along with doing all the other things that he has to do. One of my goals, I have to say it's a long-term goal because as fundraiser, I want to just be able to pay the rent this year. So and I only have a few months to do that. That's my goal this year. But next year I want to get funded a full-time digital person who will do all of the social media, will update the website, and will go out onto the Facebook pages to update, to let you know what's going on. Gwen wants to do number 2.
And I'm glad you asked that question. Let me turn so my back is not to everyone. I'm so glad you asked that question because before I came here today, I had a conversation with Caleb regarding calls, emails that are coming in of individuals wanting to volunteer. We have a process where we said, okay, we'll send this out to the folks with Ohio Democratic Party, and then we'll send it to the campaigns. I just instructed him today, any volunteer information that's coming in, we're creating our own volunteer database.
All right.
And in that database will be individuals who will be able to identify what they'd like to do, what their skills are, and then we will follow them and track them, because when you think about it, which has been one of the frustrating things for me for this major campaigns, people get all these volunteers and then once the election is over, they're gone. And you've got all these people hanging out in the cloud waiting to hear from someone, and we don't even know who half of them are. And that was one of the things that was very distressing for me as well after the big federal campaigns were over. They had these names in their bank, but we couldn't have access to them. So immediately as of today, I've asked Caleb to go back 3 months. He's going to be collecting that data, following up on the individuals, and then putting that in a database. And it may not be as sophisticated as what we like because we're just starting, but we will continue to work on that and improve that.
Yeah. Can you put a big button on the homepage that says volunteer and then links you to something where you can fill all that stuff out?
Yes, yes, we will definitely do that. You writing that down?
I just, anyone who's here who doesn't get the newsletter from the Greater Cincinnati Dems, I need your name and email address. I found I had an email address with no name, and the MailChimp won't let me put in an email address unless I have the human name. But we have about 330 people who get that newsletter, and we will get this list of candidates out and so forth. But do get the card to me with the name, your whole name, and your email. Thank you.
So it's 1 o'clock.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for
There's a
coming.
question back here. I don't know how much longer Alberta wants to go. Alberta, how much longer do you want to go? It's after 1.
It's after 1. That's 2 more questions.
2 more questions.
I got a very broad question. Just in general, could you sort of speak to the Democratic brand? I don't think there's really been a succinct message that we've had for a while. And I think a lot of people would like to hear some of that.
Okay. That is a very broad question, but I can tell you that the Democratic Party and our candidates continue to fight for working families. We want to make sure that families have sufficient wages to raise their families and care for their children and plan for the future and buy their health insurance. We want to make sure that every child has an opportunity to get a great education no matter where they live or who their parents were. We want to make sure that health care is accessible to everyone. Aspirationally, it should be single payer. Practically, we're going to start by expanding Medicare and Medicaid to allow people to buy into those.
No.
Well, okay, but that's what it is right now. Rich Cordray has a big policy on helping our veterans and military families, and that's a very interesting place where we can start to explore and implement some purely democratic policies, because it's very trendy now to support veterans, but we can try giving more veterans access to single-payer health care. So as an experiment, and people might be willing to try that. What would you like me to add to that, Gwen? I talked about education.
What I'm going to
healthcare,
do
jobs.
as well is I'm going to send the platform of the ODP, Ohio Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party as a whole to Alberta. And then it has our mission and everything on there and the branding. And that way, when you speak with individuals in your community, you don't have a whole list of things, but you can capitalize on those things that you know are unique and critical for the folks in your area. So Alberta, I'll be looking to send that to you.
Thank you.
The last question down there.
Last question.
You have the last word.
Right, okay. So I kind of want to speak to a couple of things that were just said here. I think the place where we miss the mark as Democrats and that we need to focus on is we need to speak to people where they are. You know, we're all committed to more or less the political party. We all identify with the Democrats in their platforms. But, I mean, we don't even have 50% of people voting. And I think we need to think about those people who, whether they're listed as a Democrat or Republican, and I think we need to think of them as women, blacks, brown people, LGBT people, and so on. And I think we need to speak to them where they are about their issues instead of Democrats and Republicans.
That's a very, very good point, and I think we all hear you. I want to thank everyone for letting Gwen and me, I guess it is, come here and talk to you, and we'll be sticking around for a few minutes to have private questions if you'd like.
Can I just say one thing? The people I've been speaking to when I'm knocking on doors, I'm discovering that there are Democrats out there that want to participate and that are anxious because of everything that's going on and they don't know how. And so my message to you is we cannot over-communicate with people that we know are Democrats. We have to let them know how they can do something for the campaign, whether it's stuffing envelopes, going door to door, or contributing. So I would just think, and voting, of course. But I spoke to a woman just Sunday who said she's reached out to a campaign, but they haven't gotten back to her. So we have to make sure we continue to reach out to Democrats and say, you need to get off the bench and let me show you how.
And thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you can come up and ask your questions. No. Okay, what we're going to do now is, I want to thank both of our candidates. Let's give a nice hand to both of our candidates here. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you coming. We left the count at 75 folks, which is not bad for a Tuesday luncheon meeting. We need to finish off the food. We need to get everything going. We had a great naturalization ceremony. If you missed the naturalization ceremony, please be in touch with me.
Well,